Welcome back to the Ben and Rich YouTube channel. Friends, it's International Truck Time. And if you don't remember what that was, I'll give you a quick rundown. So, earlier on in the month, we went out to our buddy Wolverton Auto, out to Wayne's, and we picked up ourselves a 1940s International, well, we're gonna call it a milk truck, but it says welder truck on it. So, we finally just got back from there. It's been sitting outside. We had to get Brandon's truck done and Brent's truck done, and we're finally on to that rig. So we just picked ourselves up a farm fresh 200,000 mile 5.3. You know, that's our treat around here. We love these things. And also, let me show you, we got something special. So you guys probably don't see a whole bunch of these laying around or even know what this is. This, my friends, looks like a Turbo 400, right? But she's got a little baby output shaft. That, my friends, we've talked about it, is a Turbo 375. What is the reason for this tranny? If you know, let me know. I will tell you why we used it. So, that milk truck is quite long, all right? And we're trying to save the drive shaft from being a two-piece, just to simplify everything we're doing. So, we figured, why not use a long shaft transmission with a cute little output? So a 375, pretty much here, forward is a 400, but the output shaft, next way down. So what does that do for us? Well, for us, with that thing out there, it gives us an opportunity for a shorter drive shaft. Now, 5.3, basic treatment, Gen 3, like I like. It's just easier with computers and tuning and all that stuff. So that's our go-to unless we start getting crazy and playing with LTs and that kind of fun stuff. But we had a computer and a battery and an air intake and a 6.0 flywheel. See how it's flat? And I do have the spacer. And we'll go through all that stuff again, guys, because you love your LS swaps just like I do. So bringing something back from the dead just seems to be the right thing to do. So enough about the basic treatment. Let me walk you out to this rig because I know you haven't seen it in a couple months or a month or whenever the video dropped. I don't know, but it's been a minute. Let's go for a little walk. So if you've seen in the back of our videos here, this thing has been just lingering around here, just waiting for its time to shine. Well, I don't know if it's actually going to shine. She's got a lot of patina, you know what I'm saying? So this truck here, Wayne acquired this thing from a mutual friend of ours from many, many moons ago, and this thing here has a 1980s front clip sectioned on, okay? We talked about it in the previous video, but I'm just giving you kind of an update if you haven't seen this thing yet. The driveline basically is 80s Chevy truck. So they updated the steering column. Now granted, we're gonna change that with a little bit more modern 80s steering column because that one's definitely pretty roached out and we're missing a lot of stuff. So for us, we're not responsible for putting the front clip on. I did have them guys pull it off. We're not gonna screw with the radiator. So you will eventually see this project come to closure, but for us, our responsibility is to put a motor and tranny in it, make it fire it by a key, and do a smoky freaking burnout. There ain't no way. This thing here, man, guys, she is a unit. I love it. I'm just excited. This is something different, and I'm hoping you enjoy it too, because this is, we're trying to just spitfire ideas out there and see what sticks, guys. So if there's something you want to see or a project or something like this, don't hesitate to drop in the comments below. I read every one of them and I comment on every one of them. So make sure you're at least, you know, make sure you throw that likes up, you know, the thumbs up out there. So got the old bee's nest still in there. I'm gonna leave that in there. They're actually, I think they're gonna clear coat that or something to leave it in there with the effect of this whole truck here. So enough of me jacking my jaws here. Let's get that motor unloaded and we'll get that stuff out of the pickup truck. So there's a little preparation I'm gonna do before I lug it out of the back of the truck, because right now it's like a mobile workbench. So before we throw it on an engine stand, or, well, she might not meet an engine stand, but I'm gonna get this flex plate changed real fast and we're gonna switch over to our 6.0 one. I'll show you the spacer and all that stuff. And if you've tagged along, you'll understand. You've seen a lot of this stuff going on here on this channel. But if you're new to the channel, I appreciate you. So get the 6.0 flywheel on. I do have a new front pump seal on its way because we always like to change those when the converter's out. And look at that thing's green. So it's got to be a new one, right? So, I mean, it was new at some point. So, you know, and then the manifolds and stuff like that, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get them pulled off too. If we can use them, we're going to. But I do have a set of long tube headers that we didn't use on the old 68 Camaro we swapped. So if we can make them fit in this unit, it'd be kind of cool, you know, because you're going to see them. So yeah, let's get that flex plate changed. So this one's a little different nature, guys. Due to what it is, we're not really cleaning anything. We want to leave it kind of ratty looking, just for the eerie look, because we're trying to continue that. So we're not going to paint the engine. We're not going to detail anything. Joe and Wayne did kind of polish everything up with a pressure washer, and that's about the extent of it. So you ask yourself, why? Well, I mean, look what we're working with. It's not going to get restored. It's meant just to be an eerie, creepy thing you can kind of drive up to the bar or whatever and do a nice smoky burnout, right? So the rear main seal's not leaking. We're not going to screw with that. Let's throw that 6-liter flex plate on. So we've talked about these in the past, and I'll give you just a brief touch on it. So your 6.0s bolted up to a 4L80E, okay, or a manual, or, you know, but an automatic aspect, they bolt to a 4L80E. So they ran a factory spacer and a flat flywheel, like that, right? So that made up the difference, so it would bolt up like a small block Chevy or a big block Chevy would, where your 5.3s have a dished flywheel, okay? So the easiest solution bolting to these older transmissions or a 4L80E is to get a 6.0 flywheel. I know I keep saying flywheel, it's flex plate, whatever, you know what I mean. But it's easier to do that because this pattern is the same pattern as your old school TH400 pattern. You know, now if you're gonna have yourself a 350 pattern converter, you know, getting this guy and elongating those a little bit works too with the little adapter spacer. So there's plenty of information on that. If you have a question, don't hesitate to shoot me a comment and ask. But this thing here, definitely the cheapest way to go for us, especially when your buddy owns a junkyard. And it's his stuff. A little bit of Loctite. It's a lot of bit of Loctite. And you'll see this kind of basically sticks the crank out a little bit further. Well, friends, it never fails. You always get shit in the back of your truck. You know what I mean? These things, they always just... I could never professionally rebuild engines, I tell you. I would not want to deal with the constant mess. But one thing we're going to get into besides the tape is not holding back the coolant. But they tried. They tried. So these manifolds here, I will tell you the secret. We're going to break the code right now, friends. So that bolt we got lucky's broke off, but that dude's sticking out a little bit. And I can't not put it in without repairing that. And these manifolds are, honestly, they don't have the heat shields. I'm not a big fan of them without the heat shields because they burn up plug wires. So we don't want to deal with that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to torch the heads of these off. Because right now, I've always ran into this on these 10mm headed units, which is generally an older engine. Usually, I think it's 99 to 02, usually has 10mm, and the newer ones have 13mm heads versus 10, okay? So there's a rule of thumb to that, but I think it's like 03 and newer has the 13s. Correct me in the comments if you do know for sure. But by torching the heads off, we're not worried about the shaft of the bolt being rusted in there. So I'm gonna cut all them off, and then we can use an extractor and get those bolts out. Because other than that, we're gonna start popping heads off and causing us all kinds of grief. So now we can give these guys a little shock therapy. Once we get this out of the way, you'll see kind of my MO here. So now, instead of having to, you know, potentially break them off in the head, now guys, there's ways of doing that. And there's videos out there, blob up your welds, you know, put a nut on there, that kind of stuff, which works great. In our case here, we may or may not have gotten lucky because we didn't get it apart yet, so. But I can guarantee by the end of this video, it'll be done. But so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get my air chisel with a hammer bit and go ahead and crack on all these guys just to knock the crust off. All right, cool tool alert, friends. So this looks like a drill chuck. This is a cheap one, Wilmar or Performance Tools, the brand. Any auto parts store should have it. But by all means, one of the coolest freaking tools for doing this kind of stuff when you got a stud you can actually work with. Now, before we talk too highly, let's make sure she works, right? Oh yeah, that's how she's supposed to work, friends. But like I said, us cutting the heads off, these things, they rust in there so damn bad that you tend to have more issues. Now, I learned that back in the 5.4 Ford Triton days. If you guys were the manifolds on those, yeah, not cool. Front seal is installed. I'm gonna slam this converter in real quick. Motor is prepped. I did get all the rest of the manifolds and garbage off, so we should be ready to glue them together. So just remember when you're throwing your converter in, the trick is 3 clunks. And try not to make a big mess. Good luck. Well, friends, got something special here. I wanted to stop for a moment and show you real fast. So this is a transmission dipstick. So the biggest thing is it's a All-Star Performance 69114 locking dipstick, turbo 400 to LS. So the biggest reason is most dipsticks use this flag right here on these older transmissions. Now there is a manufacturer like we used on our buddy Brent's truck that uses this head bolt hole and then loops down to simulate, you know, a spot for that. In our case, we needed a dipstick anyway, so we just ordered one from All-Star, and that thing fits right in there like factory and bolts up to this bell housing bolt. Now, it doesn't go over a stud, you know, like the old ones do, so I had to take one back out, I know. But at least this way here, we can have a trans dipstick tube, and it's gonna be brand new and not rusty like the rest of the project at hand. But you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. Well, friends, next day, oh, man. Frost warning this morning, it's brutal. So last night we did a thing. The unit's in here. And I don't know what to really call this thing besides milk truck or the welding truck or the unit or Jeepers Creepers, I don't know, but she's in here. So I did kind of cheat the hoist. So I got my arms swung in opposite directions. That way we can raise up some of it because we ain't gonna do a whole bunch on the hoist with this unit. So I gotta lay on my back like a dirty girl, you know? So, whatever, part of the game. So, this unit, I got her moved out of the way, but she is ready to go in there. But I did go ahead and grab some new motor mounts, guys, because them are very, very, very old and dry rotted. So, for the $13 a piece these things cost, you might as well just replace them. And we're not gonna paint them either. That's the best part about this whole project. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be clean, just functional. So let's go ahead and rip these dudes off here, and then we can actually set the drive line in. I mean, we're ready for that already, which is just absolutely crazy. But by the end of this video, the goal is smoke coming off those rear tires. And you're like, no freaking way. Well, hopefully. So you gotta have goals. Let's start changing motor mounts. I mean, somebody made this simple for us by putting, you know, small block Chevy mounts in here. I'm just saying. But she's kind of rusty. I'm just saying. It'll be okay, though. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. What's worse gonna happen? As long as we can get these new motor mounts bolted in, we're gonna be tuned to zoom. Now, I know this thing's missing a lot of things, guys. I do. I know it's missing a whole ass coil spring over here and the, you know, a floorboard and. But that's not on us. That's not on, that Wayne and Joe, they got it. They got it. We just got to make it run. Don't need these anymore. So before we load all this thing up with all this weight, I wanted to show you, if you didn't already see, there's no coil spring in there. That's, yeah, you're looking through the control arm. So I want to stick a 4x4 or something in there. So we got some suspension. So I set the hoist up just to lift up the one side. I just want to get it enough to do something here. There we go. Look at all that flex, folks. Okay. Well, at least we got part of a 6x6. So we just want to jam that in there. There we go. Look at that. Now, Wayne does have all the control arms and stuff off another donor truck, but again, that's at a later date, folks. But let's see if she stays up. Ooh, I don't know. Did it help? Did it? Maybe? Yeah, it had to a little bit. Yeah, I think so. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's a little crooked, but it's enough for what we need it to do. I'm just saying. Well, friends, I think it's time to put this in there. Yeah, there, right there. I know. Who would have thought we'd be putting a motor from the 2000s in something from the 30s or 40s, or we're not really sure what year it is, but we'll figure it out. I promise you. At some point, you'll know that I know that we know what year this is. So you ask yourself, Brian, what motor mounts are you using? Well, of course, guys, the only motor mounts we ever use. eBay Performance Super Sliders, or Amazon, or Dirty Dingo, whatever you prefer. But for $19.99, you get yourself some sweet LS swap motor mounts. So we're not going to put these on quite yet. I want to get the motor resting in there, and then we'll eyeball these up and then throw them on. You're like, Brian, there's all kinds of room for activities in here. And there is. Except for I don't have a second hand or another cherry picker, because you could cherry pick this side too, probably, with all this freaking room here. So I should be able to kick that tail over. Hopefully it stays on the jack enough for me to get our motor mount set up. And then we can get this cherry picker twisted around. I got my chain kind of backwards, you know what I'm saying? By all means, guys, if you haven't used these motor mounts before, they are just freaking awesome. For the price and for what they are, how convenient. They give you new bolts and everything. And then we can move the motor back and forth 4 freaking inches. Okay, we're gonna see if we can lower this down, at least get that one started like we said. Hopefully. Now we're kind of resting. There we go. Well, did we get it, friends? Oh, yeah, look at that. That'll be just fine. And just like that, that's how you LS swap your 1940s milk truck. So it actually fits in there nice. I mean, who would have thought, right? It had a small block Chevy in it. It's like twin sister cousins. It's okay. But this does overhang this brake booster contraption I got on there. Again, that's all square body stuff. But looking straight down, our intake should miss it, which is gonna be awesome. Super sliders. This thing's almost all the way to the front. I don't know how much further I can go back, guys. This dude here, if you're unfamiliar, that's kind of a fuel rail protector, and then our dipstick tubes here. So maybe they'll go back like a ½ inch. You know what I mean? Maybe if I take this off and then maybe flip the dipstick around, you know, like, look at that, fixed. All the room now. But ideally, we want everything to be proportional as well. So let's adjust that floor jack and see about a trans mount, and then that way we can get this thing all set up on its own. So I got our transmission mount on. You can kind of see what's going on here. So the only thing is, it's gonna be hard to put it in retrospect, but the mount needs to sit below the frame. Not a ton, but maybe, I don't know, guys, maybe an inch. I almost feel like the jack may have went down a little bit too, but Problem we're running into is drive shaft issues. I see they had a center support bearing like we talked about. I'm not really sure how we're going to handle that just yet, but I think we need to focus on getting this trans mounted, so then all the engine stuff is just kind of supported by the vehicle. So what I found is a cross member. Our buddy Brandon had brought it with his truck and graciously donated it. So this guy here, I think if we cut this off, this was off a four-wheel drive truck, we get rid of this piece, and it is kind of a tubular, I don't know, maybe that's like 1x4. So I'm thinking if I just chop a rectangle out of this and drill a hole, that way the mount can sit inside, that'll give us a little bit of lowering. Just hopefully enough. Because really, we can't really cheat that down much more unless we make our own like big hoop and stuff. So I don't quite know yet, because I don't know if that would be too far. Let me check that out too, because if we can make that work even and just put it across that way, let's fit it up a little bit. So I was thinking something kind of like, you know, this. But either way, it's still not enough. But I don't think we could actually get away with just using this without notching that top layer out to fit the transmission tail shaft through. So, man, there's not a ton of room. Benefit of a hoist when you can't use it, right? Ha! So, if we go this way, well, guys, let me see, let's just start off by cutting this out of the way here. So we're gonna start by cutting off this old mount, and then we're gonna center it up and shorten this thing, because, you know, that's what we got, so let's get cutting. Well, you're starting to see the big picture now, and yes, I'm going to leave it all torched out like that because it fits the whole project. So, basically, I just made that opened up, so we have two holes to duplicate this side. I centered this up for our trans mount, and I did notch this out. Wow, that's still hot. Who would have thought? Don't do that. Okay, so the trans mount, the plan is going to sit in there. I may have to open this up a skosh more. So that'll lower the trans mount below the surface, you know, the face of the frame anyways. Now, is it going to be enough yet? I don't know that part. We're going to find out here in about 3 seconds. Let's go now. Well, friends, a little bit of finagling. I got our cross member to work. I'm just drilling some holes real fast so we can get her bolted up. Now, the whole idea is to not eat a bucket load of rust here, but you know how that goes. Well, friends, trans cross member is in, fitting like a new one. Check this out, though. I did find the shift rod that was in this unit. And other than we're missing the spring, I gotta get that from Junkyard Joe. He's got it pulled for me, but check this out. Oh yeah, folks, we got a shifter even. Hell yeah. So they did pull a drive shaft. We need one that's 69 inches long. That's a long shaft, I'm just saying.
That's what she said.
It's time to get this intake on. Start working our way towards this, and we can get the rest of the accessories on. He's supposed to have some shorty headers that are gonna fit. I did try piecing the truck manifolds on there. They don't fit. So I do have some Trailblazer SS ones. And these guys fit like a gem. So he wants to try his headers. I understand they're his. He's got them. Might as well burn them up on this unit. So let's get to putting this intake on, and we can get the coil packs and all that stuff on and make it look like we did something today. Because, folks, today's Wednesday, and I want it running by Friday for you guys. So let's get to it. Well, friends, let's hope this thing fits. We're pretty close to that brake booster, but I mean, Theoretically, it should. Oh, come on, baby. Just gotta drop in your hole. Ooh, like really, really close. Check this out, friends. We may have to see if we can tweak them rails a little bit, but man, she did go down. So a little bit of pry bar action. Give you a better angle. She should be just fine. Let's zip that down and we can stick a screwdriver in there and give her a little tweakage. But man, she is coming together. Well, we got the intake setting on. Of course, I wanted to fit up the old cover and see what she looks like. It will, you know, need a little trimmage, but then it's gonna look like every other, you know, 2001 to 06 Silverado. But while we're into that stuff, something I was just thinking about, guys, I wanted to mention to you. So this is a heater. Basically, you can loop your heater hose lines from your LS water pump. If you get yourself a Gates 18743, the biggest thing is you can get this from an auto parts store, friends. I know they sell them online and blah, 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 but at least this way, here's a quick number for you if you ever want to just order one quick at the auto parts. Might even have it in stock, at least I know mine does. So, with that being said, now we're gonna move on to getting our coil brackets mounted, get all that stuff handled, and get this hose on. Just trying to grab some of the loose ends laying around, like, you know, that stuff, and make it go there. Get these coils thrown on. I'm hoping they fit, because I mean, they should, but back in the back corner, she's a little snug. I ended up kind of cutting the body a little bit. We wanted to get as much, you know, we wanted it back as far as possible was the biggest thing. Yeah, I'm going to have to give her a little tunky tunk right there, so don't cringe when I do this, friends. It'll be okay. It's just part of the game. Let's try again. See, that's all we needed. She is close though. Let me get just a little more. Oop. Well, we broke the valve cover. Damn it. See, guys, that's what happens when you get in a hurry. And just like that, she's all back together. So I did have to trim a little bit there, and I'm still missing a bolt I got to put in, but coils are on. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other side mounted up, and then we got to wait. We're going to run and get them headers from Wayne here shortly. Another thing I wanted to talk about, power steering hose. So I don't know where the fenders are going to be and how all this is going to lay out. So what I'm going to do, this is still, other than being greasy and grimy, of course, this is still a good power steering hose. So what we're going to do is cut the end of this guy off and flare on a 3/8 brake line nut, right? That's the same size that goes in right there. So we just got to make sure we get the right one, flare it on there, screw her in, and we're power steering. Well, friends, next day, we did run out to the yard last night, though, and got a couple goodies. So here's our 70s power steering hose. And granted, you could probably buy that special flare nut, but when your buddy that owns this rig owns a junkyard, you kind of use what you got. So that right there is going to tidy up our high pressure end. I'll show you all that good stuff. We're basically going to make these two hoses have a baby, and they're going to work with that one. And then on this guy here, we're just going to get basically a 3/8 brake line, make a little bend to it or something, and get her up there. Couple other things we grabbed. We grabbed a Jeep Cherokee steering shaft. They say, that these are supposed to be a direct bolt down for a square body. Now, we know this is a lot of square body stuff, but this rag joint is blowed out. So whatever we got to do to combine these two to make this possibly work, I'm game for trying, because that thing sucks. Even if we use the one U-joint end and weld this on down there, I'm game for that too. So another thing we grabbed, Driveshaft, right? You're wondering, Brian, this thing is super freaking long. What are you going to do? Well, we measured one at 69 inches, guys. We said that already. So I found that a 2000 and, is this an 8 half ton? Let me see, what was it? It's on here, I thought. '05 2500 van. So this thing is a 3/4 ton 14 bolt, which is a 1350 U-joint back there. This is a 1350 shaft. But you're like, Brian, you got a turbo 375 with a 350 output. So it's a little baby, right? And they don't, I'm sure somebody sells a 1350 for a, you know, turbo 350, but we end up getting a 1330, and we're gonna put these two together. Now you say, dude, the U-joint's different. Look at the size difference. But, you know, with my parts background history, I know they sell combination U-joints. So I just got a fresh batch of parts in, and a Moog made in Mexico 448 is a 1350 and a 1330 combo joint. So we're gonna use that too to put these together. And again, we're being resourceful. We got a whole junkyard to build this unit. So works out nice. Now, let me get this knocked together. We'll see if she fits, and then we'll jump back on to getting this front accessory drive done. Because guys, this thing's gotta be running by today. And you see what's there. Not a lot. But the headers, we grabbed some headers when we were out there. They were for a 68 Camaro LS swap. They don't fit. The driver's side, just no way. Not with the shifter and the steering shaft and stuff like that. So we are opting in for the Trailblazer SS manifolds. Now, granted, we call them Trailblazer SS, guys, but you can get these on your '05 Envoy with a 5.3, and that's what those are off of. So, is any of this information useful for anybody? Maybe, but a lot of this swap is kind of custom to what the hell we're doing, because this is, I mean, this is probably, it's definitely the coolest LS swap I've ever done. So this is gonna rank top tier. I'm just saying, folks. I mean, it's a 1940s International, and she's gonna be doing a burnout sooner than later, my friends. So let's get that drive shaft in, knock together, all that good stuff, and get bolting shit on. Well, friends, let's see if she fits. That'll be the true test if you ever LS swap your 1940 milk truck, you know, with a 14-bolt GM and a turbo 375. We'll know the super secret drive shaft. Now, friends, that is a nice shaft for this 1940s milk truck. I'm just saying. 4-inch aluminum. Freaking upgrade, huh? Looking pretty good. We got, about 3/4 of an inch before it bottoms out, so that'd be just fine. I'm sure there's a ton of suspension travel on this old girl. Okay, more bolting stuff on. So we're on to our power steering line. I went ahead and pulled it off of the LS here, and I cut off the edge. That's about all I left you guys at. But what I'm thinking, let me set you up here. So basically with this hose, it's gonna hook up to the pump like factory on the back, but on the gearbox side, I gave it a couple bends, and it's gonna pretty much end up like this, going straight in. The only problem is, friends, I don't know where the hell the fenders are. So they might be in the way, and this might have to get reconstructed. So yeah, part of the game, but it will steer when they get it back at least. Friends, check that out. That thing is mint. Let's see if she fits. Oh yeah, just like it's supposed to. Now we got ourselves an LS to International pick-em-up truck with an 80s frame line. Power steering is on. We're gonna try to wrap up this side, guys. Hopefully get this exhaust buttoned up. Now this is the Trailblazer SS manifold, and I did kind of set it in there. It does fit pretty good. Tossed a new O2 sensor in just so we have something we can easily weld to, you know, on that collector. Because I think we're gonna try to put exhaust on this, well, definitely at a later date, but okay. she's starting to look like something. So, a wise man once told me, do the wiring absolutely last. So that's what we're gonna do. So, I'm gonna go ahead and work on the accelerator pedal cable here. Now you can see somebody already modified this pedal. And you can also see that it was a Chevy truck pedal at some point in its life. So, there's already a big gaping hole here, okay? And it really doesn't line up with that very well. They used it like an old style where they just kind of had just a cable running through the firewall without like an outer sheath. So what we're gonna do is heat this guy up, bend it over, and then drill a new hole like right here, and then it'll be perfect. Now the idea is not to melt the plastic. Just like that. And you're like, how do you know where to drill? Well, you just do. You just send it, folks. Like we talked about, it's so much easier when it's not yours. And with this old girl, there's plenty of holes in the firewall, so. Now, friends, we may have to shorten this cable up. I've been known to do that and just use, like, if you ever worked on a mini bike in your life, them little cable stops. But you gotta start somewhere. There we go, look at that factory. So, we got her hooked up. You'll see what I mean about why we have to adjust these. Now, it works a little bit. And out here, that ain't very much, you know? So, realistically, obviously, it's just me here, but I mean, it's only opening probably this far. So, a couple options. They do sell, and I'd like to get my hands on them, believe it or not. I think it's Low Car, one of them guys, when they sell their universal cable kits, they got a little barrel with a screw in it. Let me see if I can show you one of like the mini bike ones, because we're gonna have to adjust that cable on the inside. The other way they go about doing it, it actually replaces this piece, which is super cool. It's a little machined barrel. Your cable fits in it and a screw goes in the side. So if you guys know a link for those by themselves, I would love it, because a lot of times we're chopping these cables and making them work. And again, yes, you could buy a Low Car kit, but in our case, we're trying to keep this whole build under like $2 grand. All right, and you're like, Jesus Christ, $2 grand? I know. She's sweet. It's probably worth a lot more. So basically what we got here is a, cable goes through and we'll tighten this screw up, but the higher end, more upscale, not the Dorman 10-cent ones, they'll actually fit through in the throttle body. And then they got an Allen screw or something anyways, which are super cool. Ours is gonna 100% work, just not be as professional, we'll call it. So let's show you what I mean. I mean, she's not the most tasteful, but it's practical, friends. She is pulling action right there. It's gotta be okay, because that's what we got. All right, friends, let me know if she's opening all the way. You ready? Rubber, rubber. Well, friends, here's the fun part. I gotta clean the back of this truck out. And you ask yourself, why? Why is that your deal? Well, we gotta mount the fuel cell in here. Because you were wondering how we were gonna fuel up that LS. Of course, we got eBay Performance's finest $40 fuel pump, and we got ourselves a plastic fuel cell. So, let's clean this. And of course, it's like 40 degrees out, so gotta have the heat off. Let's get to it. And just like that, friends, we got a clean workspace. So this side is not holy, that side's holy. So I feel like we should put our fuel cell on this side. We do have to chop it out for a sump. So we might as well do it where you can see ground. That would make sense, but it's still pretty solid. Not bad. Let me grab the fuel cell quick here. You can see we pretty much have to cut out for the sump. So was thinking something like that. Now, normally, you want your sump to the back, but, man, if we did that, I don't know. I don't like the fitment and placement of the tank. Now, granted, a sump is a sump. It's the lowest point. The only reason you want it to the back is usually when you're driving. The fuel, if you're really low, sloshes to the back. But, I mean, with a stock 5.3, we've mud bogged these things for hours. And, guys, they get plenty of smiles per mile. I'm just saying. So, I really feel like the right choice today, because it's going to line up right there, is to put this dude right here and chop that sump out. So let's just do it, right? What else are you gonna do? Not. I mean, at least this way, when the doors are fixed, when Wayne and them put doors on it, it'll be all closed off. But if they stop at the fuel station and you could actually get fuel back in her. So, plus it'll give us plenty of room for our return, for our nylon fuel line. We're gonna run the nylon stuff to drop through. And then obviously we're gonna pull off one of these guys for the feed. So, I think it's time to cut. Well, friends, let's see if she fits. Oh. May have to go a little bit more just for these hoses, but not bad. Not bad, guys. Oh, under the truck we go. Okay, so there is where our fuel cell landed. So you see there's a big hunk of frame here. So I'll probably, since there's a hole right there, fish that dude through there, right? It'll be a hunk of rubber. It'll be fine. And then that'll get us on that side. So basically, we'll be able to put the fuel pump and stuff in the frame. Now, you ask yourself, what are you gonna do around where the body mounts? Well, I'm thinking we'll just zig and zag around it. That's really all we got, you know what I mean? And then we'll go through where the brake line is ran up front. That shouldn't be bad, friends. That'll give us this nice flat area here for our fuel pump, and we can mount it right here. Not too crazy for the wiring. I'll probably run the wiring right with the feed line, you know, and we'll just ground it to the frame. So it won't be so bad. I do have a little bit more, maybe a little bit more modification. You see she's pretty close right there. I did have a 90, which helped out, but that'll give us a nice swoop. So let's get to plumbing. All right, friends, fuel system time. So, like I said, we got ourselves a Chinesium Walbro 255 inline pump for all the high pressure needs we'll ever need for this fine ride. So, what I like to do on these, since we got a fuel cell, I like to run a pre-filter. So I just get yourself, you know, a basic old carbureted style inline fuel filter, right? Wix 33033 if you care. So that'll go from fuel cell to carbureted filter to high pressure fuel pump. I like to do a post filter as well. Again, this is all at your discretion, folks. This is just what I do, and this is what's gonna work for me and this 1940 International LS swapped milk truck. So inline GM high pressure fuel filter. I'm using the Parts Master 7344. A Wix is a 33484 push connect on both sides. I have some of them lovely push connect fittings like I showed you in the past that clip on. So we got a whole bunch of nylon tubing, and this is the part you're gonna love the most. You're like, heater hose? What are you gonna do with that? Well, I'll tell you right now. So this unit is probably gonna sit for another 30 years. So I wanna make sure, you know, it starts up. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna run the nylon tubing through this rubber hose. I don't want it to chafe. I don't want it to, I was saying, rust. You know what I mean? So granted, could I just run that down the frame? But there's a lot of jagged edges, guys. So I'm thinking if I run it through here, which we've done before, and it does work, to run up the frame, and then we just tie her up with some P-clamps or whatever we need to get fuel to the front of that engine. So let's start piecing it together. I got our hole chopped out big enough, and we can go ahead and start plumbing this fuel system, and then we can get to wiring, because that's really, well, I really don't know why you're here to watch this, besides it's freaking the coolest LS swap ever. So you probably already know what's next. So let me get to it. Well, friends, here's a final rendition of our fuel system. Not too shabby. Now, we are going to get some straps made up, but the ratchet strap is, you know, temporary, we'll call it. You see, I did run the return up through that nice rust hole. I ran everything through some heater hose, like I said, and then I loomed her up. Now, that is a number 4 hydraulic fitting. I cut the ferrule off, and the 5/16 nylon goes right on. It goes to a -6 AN or 6 JIC. We have that 90, it helps dump it down. Let's go for a little stroll. So, under here, guys, creepers don't roll very much in 17 pounds of rust, but let's show you what we got. So we had to go from 1/2 inch to the 3/8, so we got our fish through. Now, granted, there is no shutoff, guys, so if she leaks, she's gonna leak it all. Ball valve may have been a good idea, but we got what we got. So fuel pump is bolted up. Kind of runs all the way to the front. Okay, so she runs along the frame, which gives us plenty of room for the exhaust, because, yeah, it looks like it's over top of it, but I can stick my whole arm between there. I got it running up the transmission, right to the back of the engine. So, fuel system, check. So you know what that means? It's time to start laying out the wiring. Well, friends, we got the wiring all laid out. I did advance a little bit. I went inside and I ran the battery cables and all that good stuff. But take a look at this. So we got her all laid out, and check this out. I got the computer mounted behind the old glove box. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be all right. It looks factory. Can't even see it, other than the big hole with all the wires coming through the firewall that weren't there before. But, and the OBD2 connector, kind of fits the era. So I did go ahead and I hooked the battery up, and I hooked up the, believe it or not, I hooked up the ignition for this thing. I don't know. It's questionable, but let's see what happens. So we have a key in it, right? And you know, if you remember right, the purple wire goes to the solenoid and the black wire goes to battery. So I did run them to where they needed to go, because eventually we're going to put a column in here that works if this one doesn't. So let's give her a shot real quick. You ready for this? Let's see what happens. Obviously we're not going to hear anything yet. There's no fuel pump or anything hooked up, but let's see. You ready? No shit. No shit. Look at this. How freaking cool is that? Who would have thought this nasty looking SOB? Check this wiring out, friends. This thing is rough. But it does crank. Wayne's goal was to have it crank and start by the key, so it cranks over. So as long as we got key hot, and I hook up this little wire right here, I think it's time, friends. We gotta put fuel in it. We'll go do that real quick, and then I'm gonna see if I can find the key hot wire while cranking, which should be a pink wire that would normally go to the, well, the HEI or whatever this would have had back in the day. So let's get some fuel. Let me track down that wire real quick. So right here is all of our wires out of our GM fuse box. So realistically, for starting sakes, all we need is a pink wire, and that'll be a key hot while cranking. So I'm just trying to find one on the inside so we're not running it from the outside to the inside to the outside. You know what I mean? So yeah, let's get the fuel. We'll find a key hot. And I gotta hook up my vacuum line and PCV hoses too, but we'll do that real fast. All right, friends, we got the old HP tuners on her and she's lighting up. So we know the power's working. So I have yet to cycle the key since I found a key hot. And I just kind of plumbed it into the fuse box over there, just kind of, you know, butt connector in. I mean, I used heat shrinkable, so it's gonna be better than, you know, probably the coating on the wire. Let's see if the fuel pump kicks on at least. You ready? 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 Woo! I heard her cycle, folks. I heard her cycle. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull the hot tune off. We're gonna tune this thing in speed density and then basically turn the transmission off because we have a TH4 Hundo. So supposedly this thing's an 01 Suburban computer. So let's find out. Friends, it's that time. Junkyard Joe stopped over for a little visit as well. Gonna make sure our fuel don't leak. We're gonna touch this thing off for you guys. And then we gotta put the flow masters on. Now, Junkyard Joe, what do you think of the hot rod, dude?
Pretty sick.
See, friends?
Looks factory.
That's what we were going for. You know, you see why he's here. I wanted to show you something here. Our buddy, he got us a bunk computer. We were getting ready to do something for you guys, and once we were writing it, we realized it was corrupt. So I did flash a new one on, but he brought the whole core pile here, so we got a fresh 1999 4.8 computer in it. That's not a 99 4.8 computer, it's 2005 3, so we're about ready though. We have fuel, we have a new computer. I think we can power the ignition on. And in theory, magic should happen. Now granted, this is a Chinesium harness, so this lovely rig here, you never know what's gonna happen. Let's give her a shot, guys. You excited? I know I am. All right, friends. Junkyard Joe's camera guy on the outside. We did put fuel in it. So let's just see if the pump cycles first. You should be able to hear that whooshing up. Ready? Oh, yeah. She made pressure. Okay, so we are in park, I hope, right? Let's make sure it's in park. All right. You guys as excited as I am? Excited? You ready? Huh? You ready? All right, let's do it. Come on, baby. Come on. What do you think, dude? That's what we're talking about. She's cleaning her up too. First try, guys. Hell yeah. God, it even sounds good. Now it's stock cam 5.3, but man, dude. All right, yeah, fire. Yeah, he was. Of course, fire ain't happening now. Hell yeah, guys. Alright.
Here we go. Let's see what she's got.
We gotta see if she'll do a burnout. We gotta try it. I mean, there's no coolant, and we got a bad leak in the front. Alright, our pump seal's leaking, but we gotta do something. There ain't no way.
She's heavy, dude. She's heavy.
Bigger the train. I don't know, Joe. Son of a bitch. Dang it. Guys, my whole dream was to smolder the tires off on this thing for you to close out this video. But all we're leaving you off with right now is a front pump seal leaking and not enough horsepower. And we kind of figured, we were considering the fact that Joe's 5.3 Suburban wouldn't do a burnout, so we're thinking this thing probably wouldn't either, but
Horsepower to weight ratio, man.
you know, if we had a nice road in Mexico, we'd oil her up a little bit for you guys, but man, oh man.
Job well done either way.
Right. Well, friends, we got to do a limiter check at least, right? Hell yeah.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Guys, I know it's been a long video, and I want your input on it. I know I just had a big influx of subscribers. I'm trying to figure out the right way to go about this because I can do a longer video with a longer project. Yeah, figuratively speaking. And that, or I can do multiple parts. Now, I seem to do the part videos, and you run into a big influx in views on the first video, but on the second, third, fourth, they start petering out. So I want to keep you guys more engaged. You let me know in the comments if there's something you want to see, because we're trying to dig up another project for you. So this unit here, she's a unit here. Yeah, but yeah, that's basically what's going on. That's what we did to this thing. Now we gotta do the exhaust and fix the tranny leak, but you probably won't see that. So, well, friends, I mean, the black marks are at least from the old bias ply skidding there. So I don't know. I mean, it tried. Genuinely, it tried, and it does run. It does run really well. So, guys, it's not gonna be one of those projects that's completely finished today. We're hoping to see the outcome. I know Joe and Junkyard Wayne are gonna wrap the project up at their shop. So for us, it's probably gonna be the last time you're gonna see it for now for a little while on the channel. Now, hopefully, we're trying to get it done for Halloween and maybe take it to the parade, which would be freaking cool, which is, what's parade, 2 weeks from now? Yep. A couple weeks from now. So maybe we'll see an outcome then for you guys. But I know this, I missed my Tuesday video and now Friday video, guys, and I apologize. I've been off point on this thing, has been just kicking my ass. And you're like, it's a freaking basic LS swap. It is, until you deal with shit like that. So, yeah. On that note, guys, on behalf of me, Junkyard Joe, and my old man, of course, make sure you like, subscribe, share all the good stuff. We'll see you on the next one.